There we go.
My name is Abina Johnson, and this is Focus on Liberia. Hit it! From Cape Mount to Cape Palmer, Mount Nimba to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Pocondre, to educate, elevate, and promote. Yeah, focus on Liberia, for Liberia, Liberia, for Liberia, yeah, 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 yeah. From Monday to Sunday, from Monday to Sunday, it's focus on Liberia. Talk about home affairs, hey, in diaspora, foreign affairs, hey, reliable information, history, ooh, talking about culture, yeah, politics, education, entertainment, yeah, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday. Focus on.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to not Focus on Liberia, but Friday night debate. Today is a very special event with my panelists here, Dr. Pearson and Dr. George. I know I've been away for a while, so I know you're probably surprised to see me on here on Friday, especially on Friday. I'm usually on the typical Saturday on the marketplace, but today I had some free time, so I decided to play host. So um, I'm here. We're going to have a good discussion. Dr. George William just came back from Liberia, so we're going to pick his brain in terms of what he was able to analyze about the country from a governance and accountability standpoint. We want to talk about the economic conditions on the ground. We also want to look at the sports and national, youth direction. We're going to look at the political climate because everybody is in politics. So we're going to look at the political climate. And last but not least, basically, as you guys all know, we are here in the diaspora. What must the diaspora know about Liberia? Uh, Riding with me today will be Dr. Pearson, but I will be playing host. Every now and then I might chime in. So please, I'm not a political guy, so I might screw up the conversation. But hopefully you guys will be able to wheel me back on track. Gentlemen, it's good to have you here. Dr. Pearson, Dr. William,
Yes,
since
sir.
you are the guest of honor today, I will let you, maybe I'll let you take it away to maybe give us a brief overview about maybe the trip, and then we will dive into the rest of the show. I don't want to do introduction because I think you guys are here I believe almost every Friday. So there's no need
Yeah.
to introduce anybody here. So uh whichever way you want to do it, I will let you take it away. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Gabriel. And it's always a pleasure to be in the company of you, very illustrious sons of Liberia. My trip to Liberia was both a personal and a what do I call it? A repatriation process. First phase of the repatriation process. I did announce somewhere in November that I was transitioning from the U.S. after 15 years to go back
Wow.
home.
Yeah.
Um, the transformation that we want to see in Liberia cannot be done by correspondence. We have to be
Yeah.
on the ground. We have to contribute to the effort, however little we can, has
Right.
to be done in person. And so, as part of that effort, I was going home to not reconnect with family. Um, Many of you may not know, but my wife is and has been home since May. We
Oh wow.
found a place and we've set up there in Liberia, and I was there to join her, reconnect after a couple of months to not only reconnect with the family, but also to prospect on areas of opportunities from a private sector standpoint. I
Mm.
know Dr. Pearson and I spoke at length in various ways we can all intervene
Yeah.
in the forward movement of our country. And so I was there to do that. Um, and, the trip, like I say, was
Hmm.
revealing. And uh, uh, hopefully, this conversation, we will reveal some of those things that we saw appealing to our
Uh-huh.
country. We want to be a part of it. We're excited to be a part of it. As professionals, we were able to engage both people in and out of government, but
Hmm.
I was particularly attracted to and motivated to wanting to go home by the
Yeah.
number of opportunities that are yet untapped, invariably unseen and recognized by even some of the local players on the ground.
Yeah.
And those observations I hope to share through, in the process of this conversation. So I'm happy to be
Okay.
here. I'm happy to share as well. Yep.
Thank you, Dr. Pearson. I know you are literally in and out sometime, and keep me honest here if I'm uh, not accurate about that. But would you like to give us a little bit of a perspective in terms of your back and forward
I
your
was particularly.
career?
Yeah, thank you for having me tonight, Gabriel, and for hosting. Look, welcome back, Dr. Williams. It's a pleasure having you back again on the platform for us
Yes,
to
sir.
engage the situation in our country. I want to say hi to the viewers and the listeners out there. Look, yeah, yes, Carter. I am back and forth to Liberia. I mean, every year, sometimes more than once. Um, I'm fully established back home in Liberia, so
Ah, okay.
there's no running away from Liberia for me. There where I spend 90% of my current life was been spent in Liberia. Just a fraction of it I've been here in the United States so
Hmm.
far. But again, I'm like what I'm hearing. I like what I'm hearing from Dr. Williams coming to the point where he's looking to have a stronger foothold in Liberia in terms of trying to settle in with his family. I think that's a good thing. For some of us, we have friends and family who've tried that before. Some did not find the experience conducive. Not that they couldn't live in Liberia, but our body politics is of such that even if you had a professional career going, and majority of the time contracts rest in government because they are the the most, well, I should say the most what is it, the biggest employer and expense of money in our country, minus the few concessions we have. So, for example, if you have a company that you organize and win Liberian got contract with the current government, there's a tendency in our country that once the government that you are doing business with leave from power, they brand you as being collaborator with a party, and then you lose contracts. A lot of Liberians went there with that mind of reconnecting and with the fourth victim. I pray we can fix that mindset so
Yeah.
that people like Dr. Williams who going back with some brilliant ideas in the education sector and other areas will not fall prey to the situation where someone will say, he was here doing boycott time, and so he's a boycott man, he's a UP man. So then everything he's doing in collaboration with government get on the back burner because the UP government is not in power anymore. So I look forward
Thank
to hearing your experience, Dr.
y-
Williams.
And I thank you guys for sharing your transitional stories and perspective. I believe for some of us who still haven't really gotten to that point yet, when the time comes, or before we do, we will definitely be tapping into you to get a little bit of understanding in terms of how you were able to transition to make that happen for you, because I think it can be a little bit challenging for most people, like Dr. Pearson talked about. So I'm glad you guys will be a resource, to get me at least to understand that process as well. I have another maybe 10 years or 15 years to do that. So it's still a long way out, but it's good to hear that. But let's jump into the rest of the program here. First of all, on the menu here, we want to talk about governance and accountability. And I'm not as good as Dennis, but I have a series of questions here specifically on that topic. So maybe you guys can take since you guys have been there. Um, what does good governance mean in Liberia today, and what do we you know what do you believe the country is falling short? What does it mean, and what areas do you guys think the country is falling short based on your perspective from what you were able to see on the ground?
Is that a question for me? Yes.
For you,
So
for both, right?
yeah, I like to start this conversation, Gabriel,
Yeah,
and to you, Dr. Pearson, that Bob Marley has this song that we pay very little attention to, but it has a profound message. There's a natural mystic flowing in the air, and if you listen carefully, you will hear.
yeah.
I use that analogy to express the transformation that's taking place in Liberia.
Hmm.
So much so, we hear a lot of the negatives about what is happening, the corruption, the inaction, and sometimes limited actions of the government. But for the keen eye, I see transformation. I see
Okay.
for the first time some of the issues that are highlighted today,
Yeah,
10, 20 years ago, were not issues on the table. They were not issues in the public domain. Dr. Pearson and I, and even you who lived in
yeah,
the country, weren't privy to holding discussions around those issues. And as a civil society actor myself, prior to advancing or transitioning to the US, uh, this is what we've worked for. This is what we've worked for. Work for an open society where governance, and you ask the question, what is good governance? Where governance is by the people, for the people, by the people. Yeah. So people are involved. Today, you have more people involved in the governance of the country than they've ever been, ever in the history of the country. And by involvement, I simply mean that in every nooks and crannies, people are having conversations around what is going on. How
yeah,
effective those conversations are will be the next level, But people are
yeah,
having conversations. Some people, some places, the conversations are taking place. You wonder how can they even affect any kind of change. But that's part of the enlightenment. That's part of the mystique in the air that's
hmm,
taking place. The transformation is taking place, and I promise you that there is nothing this government and any other government going forward can do to turn this trajectory around. The change is going to come. It's going to come. How soon? I can't determine, but I see the change coming because I see the change
okay.
unfolding before my very eyes today. Yes.
So you in another word, you've been to the mountaintop, and you see some changes.
And I've seen it. Yes, sir. I've seen it. I've seen it. I
Great to
see it
hear.
every day. Yes, sir.
Great to hear. Before I jump to Dr. Pearson, let me welcome is it Elston?
That's very
I hope I
accurate.
pronounced.
Oh yeah,
Huh? Is that accurate?
that is very accurate. Thank you.
Perfect, perfect. Welcome to the show. I believe this is probably my first time meeting you, but
Yes, certainly.
welcome.
It's my greatest pleasure joining you all, and I am a friend of Ja, and we used
Yeah,
to be on in time past. So
Okay.
we just
Would you like to
extended me an
take
invite.
maybe would you like to take 30 seconds or a minute to introduce yourself?
Certainly,
Okay.
I'm a former broadcast journalist from the land Liberia, and
Okay.
I used to run my own show on both TV and radio
Oh,
post-war.
nice.
I
Yeah.
always tell people I am post-war. I hold the record as the youngest Liberian to broadcast Lone Star game at the Samarkand Sports Complex on television post-war.
Nice.
So
Okay.
at present, I'm working in a US of A. I live in the USA and I work in the healthcare sector as a electroencephalogram technician, EEG tech.
Okay.
So I've
Nice.
been in the States for considerable number of years. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's always a pleasure to expand on these issues that are very pertinent to Mama Liberia. Thank you.
Thank you and welcome. Dr. Pearson, the same question to you. I know, as I said earlier, and I think you mentioned as well, you're literally almost in Liberia. Uh, you know, what does good governance mean in Liberia today, and where do you believe the country is falling short? Maybe you can draw that line between what you see things, um, the good governance, and where you think the challenge lies.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. So I do applaud Mr. Williams' optimism, and we do
Ah,
all have some level of optimism for the country, right? And I agree with him. There are more Liberians that are engaged in the body politics in Liberia today when it comes to the conversation than before. But it's understandable considering the platform that we have now and that we didn't have before, the social media. Social media has put body politics in Liberia in the palm of our hands, right? At the click of a button. On leg before, and I want to say to Elston, welcome again, my brother. My first time on the platform with you, so welcome. And like Elton is saying, back in the day when they were broadcasting soccer game, you had to find someone on the radio to sit down by. And if you didn't have a radio, you got to go to your neighbor house, right? And so
So correctly.
you didn't get a game until you had a radio, or if
yeah.
you're fortunate to have a black and white television by that time, and to sit by, then you have access to the game. But today, technology has changed the trajectory of the situation in Liberia. So I will agree with Dr. Williams that yeah, we are more involved in what's going on back in Liberia. But again, when it comes to good governance, I must be very frank to say here that I am not impressed with what I see in Liberia, and I'll tell you why, right? So again, some would say not everything is bad. I agree with that as well. I wouldn't say everything is bad. There are some good intentions, like the war on economic crime court is a good intention. The asset recovery idea is a good intention. Buying earth moving equipment are all good intentions. But when you narrow in to the specifics that you're supposed to look at to see how those actions are going to yield dividends or yield results, there where you start to see cracks in the wall. So good governance primarily will center around governing well, in the simplistic way to put it, governing well, following the rule of law, ensuring that everybody have access to the basic social services, and the country is at least not free of, but minimum level of corruption, some level of maturity in how public officials carry themselves. But having said that, let's look a little bit more carefully at Liberia, where it stands. So, take for instance, Carter, Gabriel, you saw the Yellow Machine saga, right? So the initial approach to the Yellow Machine saga, and I'm bringing this up because it's the hottest topic there right now. You look at the Yellow Machine saga, you will find that the initial approach to the Yellow Machine would have robbed the country of around $60 million, right? So we are intended to ensure that we'll be so progressive to the extent that we raise the stake, that government be more responsible in going about procuring the Yellow Machine. And then we saw the cost of the Yellow Machine come down to around $24, $25 million. well, that's a gain for the country only because some of us spoke out, right? So had we not spoken out, the country would have lost around $60 million. Now, the major part there, then, Carter, is that the procurement of the yellow machine is outside of the national budget, right? And not only that, it's outside the national budget. Another thing about the procurement of the yellow machines or the F-moving machine is that if you projected wrongly from the beginning that seemed to have been a conspiracy to rob the country of some natural some of its scarce resources, you have been concerned to want to know as a legislature, like, why is it that we were being misled or seem to have been misled initially and called people to the capital to account? Am I making any sense here, Gabriel? Call people to account, like why is it that this machine was projected as $80+ million and now we're getting the same quantity for $25+ million? Like, what is this disparity? So there is an intent to defraud the country. Has anyone been called to answer or to account for that attempted conspiracy to rob the country? No. What you see there is that you find out the legislators are in yellow, gallivanting with the yellow machine and celebrating it and not asking the hard question. We did not elect them to go and celebrate the executive. We elect them to hold the executive to account. That's where check and balances come in. That's just one thing. Another thing before I leave this topic, Gabriel, another thing is that in addition to that, not only that the machine has been procured, but this machine was not procured with a definite clear-cut a strategy as to how it's going to be maintained and how it's going to be financed in terms of its maintenance. So when all of these things are crowded up like that, and we don't see where the government is directing its technocrats in terms of how it's leading the country, then I don't see how that's part of good governance with all of the corruption scandal and for me poor planning in the entire process of some issues. And there are myriad of things I could list, but because of time and the number of us on here, I will stop there for now.
Yes, thank you. And I I'm a host, so I don't want to chime in. I don't want to chakla. Before I go to Elston, I would like to welcome the man himself, Mr. J. Victor Nangwe. Currently, I think. Sorry, I forgot your title at CMC. I don't want to. I, I don't want to mess up the title. But welcome to the show, and maybe you can take a 30 seconds or a minute to introduce yourself. But I don't think you need introduction because you're always on here, right?
No, I don't believe I do. I can introduce myself to Dr. Pearson.
Yeah, please. Okay, then go right ahead.
But it is good to be here. Jeff Victor Nangwe here, a regular here. I'm also the political analyst for FOL, I believe, and I'm also the global secretary for CMC. I think that's the title you're looking for. But it's good to be here.
Yeah, thank you. Good to see you. Long time. Sorry, I don't. Elston. Forgive me, Elston. Sorry if
you're perfectly fine.
Your name properly. The same question to you. I think I've heard from Dr. William, Dr. Pearson, and I think from what you said, you alluded to earlier, you've been out of Liberia for quite a bit, but I don't know if you've gone back. But
I've visited.
From the outside looking in, they have given us a perspective of people who are constantly in the country. But from the outside looking in, what do you think good governance means in Liberia today? And what do you think some of the challenges are? Right.
So as per my view, good governance is everything, my dear brother. I would just start from 2017, from when George Weah overwhelmingly won and became a president, because a lot of Liberians kind of resonated with his background. Yes, so man, I came from an impoverished neighborhood, Gibraltar, and he excelled all the way to the top, and he became president, and they expected him to do well. Like I always tell people, the most essential, the most important thing in a society, healthcare and education, even if you didn't do well or exceptionally well in those areas. The very minimal he could have done was in his discipline, sports, he could have developed it. But we all saw the outcome after 6 years. The same people that gifted him state power, they removed him after 6 years. And don't forget, he was also requesting a second term. By virtue of the fact that he was not accorded or afforded the opportunity to serve a second term, it tells you that good governance for the people did not suffice. It did not happen. So they removed him. So now we have President Joseph Boakai in his second year. I will tell people things are not all rosy. There are some lapses in this government, but there are some things that he's doing and it kind of like playing well. And time flies. He gone 2 years already. And when you see where the country is and how they're developing roles and a whole different party, standard bearer, CMC standard bearer Musa Ability alluded to the fact that nowadays you can leave the road from Monrovia to all the way to the Southeast Maryland, Grand Gita. Those roads are a lot more pliable today and in the best shape. He spoke his own words. You've seen it since Rock of Ages clear for me. So that says a lot. Those things will help to boost the country's image. And another thing that is a downside for this government, having highlighted the downside of the we are government that were removed, is the culture of impunity. One reason we put Joseph Boakai in state power. I will tell people I'm meeting a neutral standpoint, I'm meeting an objective standpoint. I've never been a United Party partisan, but I supported Boakai in the past election. So we put him there to outdo and outperform the government of CDC. And today we see young people being sodomized, young boys sodomized, young girls have been raped in recent time. And the pace at which they are bringing these cases to the limelight is slow. The judicial system must do better. That's why I said we tend, sometimes Liberian, we tend not to focus on the severe issues. We thrive on trivialities. They focus on the small things. Like for instance, somebody is totally wrong. We all know using invective on anybody is not right, but somebody insults a top government official and his case gets expedited so fast and he gets sentenced to South Beach in a twinkle of an eye. But look at, we have cases of rape, cases of sodomy, and those cases are pushed back on the docket of the judicial system. That is unfortunate, and I think we can do better, and we must do better to replace a bad government in my view and bring a government that is led by an octogenarian, an 80-year-old man, Joseph Boakai, who I foresaw being a good president, which he's trying today, but I think he can definitely do better. And I will retire here with the like of people who, like for instance, Amin Muda, you became commerce minister. I thought it was a total affront to us who brought the government to power because we brought you all to do better. And in less than a year, you get caught buying luxurious car, a car that costs very exuberant amount, and then you resign. Resigning is okay, but I feel we should prosecute you and not let the culture of impunity persist. We should prosecute you and you should account for your wrongdoing, not just to resign and let it be. If we continue like that, the country is going nowhere. People will just commit wrongdoing and nothing will be done to them, and they will resign and go and live wherever way they elect to. I will retire at that point, my brother.
That's brilliantly stated. I think that level of accountability starts from the top. Even though my dad, I don't know him very well, he did resign. If he should have been persecuted, investigated and persecuted, that decision should have come from the top, right? And I do agree with you on that. You got to set an example. And again, to your point, he was the only. Maybe those are the one that got caught. There are a lot more that we're not seeing. But again, I don't want to speculate. So let me yield on that. Mr. J. Victor Nangwe, I have a tougher question for you.
Well, it's the 25th.
We're 0 for 2. It already passed. Our day for yesterday, the 25th.
Yeah.
No, you're fine. Guess what?
Okay. There you go. Mr. Nangwe, I wanted to ask you the same question, but for the sake of time, I think I have a little bit tougher question for you. Given your role in the CMC, and now that you're literally in a position to You should be looking at things as somebody who has the ability, to transform the country. What specific reforms, do you think should be supported to strengthen accountability in government institution today?
Well, I think the level of graft in this government, the corruption, the legislature. I think the legislature is one of the major problems we have in that country.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of money being put into that house, and we're not getting our returns on that investment comparable. The corruption in the executive as well. The fact in government, the speaker's office is appropriated over $500,000 for entertainment. I mean, is this guy having a wedding every day? So all of that, and then as my brother who just ended indicated, the lack of accountability, you know, uh, lack of transparency, interference with the rule of law, justice miscarried. It may be as the Julie Andy case or the removal of the speaker, the burning of the Capitol building, the president coming in and stepping all over everything and making a pronouncement the day after the fire, without due regard to the processes that lead to transparency. I think these are some of the things that we will have to reform: the corruption in the government, and you can say corruption predates this government. I get that, but that too is not an excuse for this government, which came in to make a difference. That was the argument they made all the time, because they were coming to rescue us. We were beleaguered, right, under siege by this incompetent, according to them, government that didn't know what to do. And so they were supposed to be the adults, the responsible ones to come and liberate us. But here we are, 3 years in, and we're going backwards. So, like you said, in the sake of time, I will pass it on. But those are the places we will try to. I think that need to be tackled immediately. Corruption. I think that should be enemy number one. I know it's been said to the point where it sounds like a cliche, but that is what is holding us back.
So you put the verdicts, the challenges, speared squarely on corruption.
I think so. And Mr. God, this is not just financial corruption. I mean, corruption. Yeah, you're talking about people assigned to jobs. Some of the people don't show up and they get paid. People abusing their power. People taking advantage of their proximity to power. I mean, look at the rape cases that are ongoing. A lot of these acts, go on with impunity simply because of the individual's proximity to power. And I think all of that is corruption.
Yeah. No, I agree with you and Elston, and I think everybody here, especially with the rape cases. It's been prevalent lately. I have a friend who works at the Ministry of what is called Gender and Ministry of Gender, right? And one of the conversations, which I didn't know, was that like sometime at night they have to get up and go investigate cases, right? But the fact that they do go investigate those cases, to bring charges, those cases are dragging. Some of them are just buried in the court process. No investigation. They're just there, no legal process. Some of them are just laying there, So I do agree with you guys on that. That puts the question back on Dr. William. I think I think from what I'm sensing here, you can keep me honest. You're a little bit, you see, you're a little bit optimistic than all of us on here about the government. So I want to put this question back to you from that optimistic lens, to maybe give your perspective on that from a reform perspective, right?
So, of course, I'm a reformist. I believe, and welcome Elston and our colleague, Mr. Nangwe. It's been a while. Great to see you. You know, of course, I'm
Same here,
already
man. I understand you've been getting organic back there, but welcome back. I
very
understand you're
organic,
bringing.
very organic. But to everything my colleagues who spoke before me have said, you know, you asked the question, where is the government failing? I will outrightly tell you that the government is failing on vision. Outrightly failing on vision. There is just so much that could have been done within the first 3 years of this government that hasn't, unfortunately, hasn't even come on the table. Whenever it has been mentioned in passing. I would have hoped, and this was the basis for my support for Mr. Buckeye after 40 years, because when I grew up in this country, in Liberia, I grew up at a time when President Talbot had just taken over. He had been vice president for 19 years.
Jesus.
Talbot came into office with an agenda. He knew what he wanted to do. Talbot didn't take 3-4 years to put his feet on the ground. His feet was on the ground as of July 1971.
Yeah.
He knew what he wanted to do. He knew who he was putting where. He knew what he had to do. So it pains me. Gabriel. I think fundamentally, there's an absence of vision. And that is undermining the progress that's being made at the moment. The colleagues talked about, you know, the yellow machine. All of those are in silos. The bigger picture, how can we structure this government? President Buckeye is aware that one of the problems, a major problem of our governance system is the overpowering presidency. The president is just too powerful.
Yeah.
His hands, his tentacles, the presidency is muddled across the country. That's too much power for one office. You would have thought that the president would have put forward an agenda, or as part of the agenda, to reduce. Yes, we understand that some of those changes, some of the reforms we hope to see has to come from constitutional review or from a referendum. But there are some reforms, there are some policies the president can hold back, for example, on many of the appointments he's made. We have a bloated bureaucracy in government. Bloated, highly bloated. And as we speak, there are more institutions being brought on. As we speak, that's a burden on the national coffers. At what point are we going to take advantage of the opportunity we have to begin to reconceptualize, reimagine governance in Liberia, and what institutions we need to effectively run the country? I hear Liberians today saying, hey, we don't need the legislature. No, we do. We have been responsible for the quality of people going into the legislature. Yeah. It is upon us to go in there and seek to reform it. And how do we do it? When all of us get on board. Again, we cannot make these changes. We cannot effect these changes from a distance. We cannot. We cannot. We talk about strengthening accountability. What stops this government, for example, for instituting an integrity check on everyone who is nominated to government? If you've been part of an audit, you've gone to the courts, your name is in the courthouse, go to the LSCC and let the LSCC clear you before you can even sit, confirmation hearings at the Senate. You have a Secretary of the Senate whose name is in the courts for corruption, taking money from people. You have people at all levels of government. We had Mr. Japa with the SOEs who have been earmarked before for prosecution. You had Mr. Dwana Kamara from Water and Sewer. They ended up back in government. How are we recycling the same? We cannot effectively run a government on the same defective framework. It has to change. It has to change. And that is where I think the government is failing. There are lots and lots that can be done. And it will not cost us a referendum. We do not need a referendum. We need leadership at the level of the presidency to say, from my endpoint, I'm going to institute A, B, and C. Yeah. A, B, and C. And that going forward, as we move towards the referendum, with a clear set of policy guidelines on what we want to see change. 3 years into this government, and we still aren't clear of what those reform ideas are from the presidency. All of us individually have an idea of what needs to be changed. I come from a standpoint that the government is too big. We need to cut the government, not just cut the budget, a budget to the legislature, but cut the structures.
Yeah.
Yes, the government is overbloated. It's unmanageable. There are too many. You go to the legislature. There is another issue with that. How in heavens do you have a legislature where men and women in the legislature are conducting business when they're being paid to do the people's work? There's a conflict of interest. Yeah. You have people running foundations, people running businesses, people selling oil. What time do they do our business? What time do they do our business? Why are we giving them cars, housing, paying for staff, travel, entertainment? Mr. Nabwe just mentioned the budget. Why are we providing all of these to our legislators to do their own businesses? This is unfair. This is unfair. And like I say, the mystique is in the air. Government will change. Whether they like it or not, it will change. And it's going to happen. How it's going to happen, I don't have the panacea, but it's going to happen because Liberians are talking. And we're talking about the change. So all of us here are saying the same thing. It's us synchronizing our efforts to make the change possible, and it will happen.
Thank you. I think the word it's common in all this conversation that I'm hearing frequently is change. But the maybe we'll get to that later in terms of what needs to change. Some of the things that needs to change. So maybe we'll get to that later. Dr. Pearson, I don't want to. This is going to be a double question, and this is maybe not of a tangent, but I think it's part of the conversation that we're having here as well. In addition to specific reforms, that we think can strengthen accountability in those various institutions. Several of you have alluded to the yellow machine being celebrated, and I think it's currently the trending topic in the country, where people are celebrating by wearing yellow and going to, which I thought was very funny, right? And I think you alluded to that in probably one of the questions that I asked you, that you said the price dropped from, I think it was 85 million to 22 million, or 70 million to 22 million, but yet nobody was held accountable. That means there was a very large inflation of the price in there. What do you think, from your perspective, should have happened with that discrepancy in prices of the yellow machine?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for the question.
It's a double whammy question in addition to this one, but if you can take it in bite pieces, that'll be great.
Right. So here's my thing, right? And this is something I've been saying for a while now, right? So, for instance, I feel when President Boykai took power and he went at autonomous agency and started to, like Dr. Williams has alluded to here, exert an astronomical amount of power, right, in the country, removing tenure position heads as though they were just, a position that you could just get rid of when you want to get rid of, right? That range from central bank and across other key areas. He even went as far as suspending the neck head, I guess, to show how much power he has. Now, I know politics will always be politics, but you know, when we do things like that, there are consequences, right? There's a saying in criminal justice that if you don't punish crime, you embolden criminals, right? If you don't punish
Mm.
crime, you embolden criminals, and if you don't punish wrong, you increase wrong in society. So you take a look, right? Some of the things that should change, and in as much as we're talking about yellow machine, will be, can the PPCC boss do its job, right? The Public Procurement Commission, can they do the job? Why would this guy always be called to the legislature and he says bluntly, and what baffles me, Gabriel, is that you do not see a follow through action. So if you call the PPC head every single time, he tells you this procurement did not come on my desk at all, and you've had this happening a number of times, what is the follow through response from the legislature? None, right? Then you look at the LSCC. Now, the LSCC should be prosecuting acts of corruption. And then these things are intertwined with semblance of conspiracy to defraud the country. And the LSCC is not taking stringent measure against these things, especially in a being precise, especially when it is relating to the executive branch of government.
But does the LACC has prosecutory power? I don't think they have. They're like
They do.
a dog without any tooth right now,
Yeah, they
right?
do. The LSCC
They
Act
do.
was amended, and they were
Okay.
given prosecutory power, right? So they have the power to prosecute. I think what they do not have is a court that is dedicated to them to function and with a judge, but they do go and prosecute cases, and,
Okay.
and they prosecute people. They are able to level charges against people, right? But that indictments. But beyond that, look at the issue with the asset recovery. You know, for me, asset recovery and LSCC should be more preventive than just prosecutory. So let me give you what I mean by that.
Mhm.
What actions can LSCC take to prevent corruption from happening, which makes them proactive? What action can the asset recovery team take will make their work preventive? Say, for instance, we heard that a property worth around $6 million or to $6 to $10 million is being constructed in Foya, and the president initially has said he has no knowledge of the project. All of
Yeah.
the prominent government officials, including Ministry of Foreign Affairs, did not have adequate information on the project, to the extent that the Monroe Young came up and say on in the public communique, we have no link to that budget and that money being spent in Foya in Liberia. We have no title to that transaction. Then we further heard that the SOEs, State Enterprises, funded that project without any legislative approval, without the president knowing. So what comes to mind is that if these guys are able to spend the Liberian poor money without legislative approval, without presidential clearance, then what comes to my mind? What else are they doing there? So will the LSCC go there and investigate now? Will the are we waiting for the president to come down to the State of the Nation address and validate the project by owning it, even though it was corrupt, like he did with the yellow machine, where we could have lost 60 million, and then the whole thing got toppled, and then we saved $60 million, and he validated it in the State of the Union by saying that the most talk about yellow machine that we started procuring would be in the country, when it was not the exact same machines that were procured. So what we see, and what I see that has to be reformed for me in the immediate terms, is how
Yeah.
can we give the GAC, the LSCC, the asset recovery team the bite that they need to have to curb corruption? Because if the country does not take grasp of corruption, development will not be successful in the country.
Thank you. Thank you. Since we are, and I think that's why I think it exhausts everyone, myself included, to see a government like Mr. Nangwe talked about earlier that made so much noise about being a better government than the previous one we had, will come in and repeat some of these mistakes. To your point, to specifically with the project being constructed in Foya. Yes, he did not. He claimed that he didn't. The president did not know anything about that, right? The Senate, the House of Representatives, should have immediately call for an investigation because this is what they're supposed to do, and then get the LACC involved, right? But none of that, none. It has just been swept under the rug, and we're quiet. We talked about it on different platforms. Everybody's quiet. We'll move on, just like that. Then we come to procurement. We're circumventing the processes that we put in place to the point that the boss is coming on and say, I'm not aware of this, I'm not aware of this, right? And no investigation. But let's move on to the next topic. I think there's a lot of ground to cover here before we jump. So our next topic on here is basically.
Sorry, man, but I don't think I'll give me a second to just say a couple of words.
Oh yes, please. Sorry,
I figure you were not intentional. So I'll be just brief and to the point. So like I said, things are not in its perfect state currently, but things are definitely getting better. The head of that institution, the anti-corruption Klatume, we've seen he has a plethora of cases on his docket, and amongst them, I think Women Pay and the other guy, I think they were sentenced to about 5 years of incarceration because of their involvement with the last administration. So steps have been taken. We hope that it could be taken a lot more swifter than what they are today. But we're taking steps in the right direction is laudable, and I would tie that in with the fact that we've seen over 200 machines, as we refer to them as yellow machines, and they were physically seen in the country. Those efforts are worth commending because those things. Others who are opposed to this government, they may not acknowledge them, but the hard truth is they are going to help the economy. If you have the rules conducive, the rules are a lot more pliable from the rural parts, north, southeast, the farthest parts of the country. People can easily take their goods to the city. If hypothetically, if they took them in the time past 10 hours to get to Monrovia, they could take, assumingly 3-4 hours, and their crop will still be fresh and it will sell them. And that's how a country empowers its people. So to end here, I think this government should be persistent on investigating wrong from the past. And this is what I mean. We heard a brother talk about the Foya project and how questionable it is for the fact that the current president stated that he initially did not know anything about it. And today it has come to the limelight. He knows that it's Mana River Union project. Those are kind of a project that I want to see the next government investigate, because we cannot let things to just slide. And that's the reason why I am calling on this government that I supported to investigate the Cloud Hope Foundation. Look, I hear people saying the Cloud Hope Foundation is a good thing. It helps kids. 100%. I'm in accordance with that. But let's say hypothetically, if that project costs Mana Claudia and her team a hypothetical number of 3 million, and she spent 5 million. So because the kids are benefiting today, we should not question the other 2 million extra, the excess, where did it go? So I respect the fact that she was foresighted and opened such a beautiful institution, which we can also tie in Senator Dillon, who has a rehab center in the country that is helping in similar direction with young people and alleviating their drug plight and taking it off the street. She definitely needs to be investigated. No one have accused her of committing a crime. All they ask her to do is go to the court and exonerate herself. So I would like to retire there. Thank you.
If I may come in, Mr. Carlo.
Yes.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
First of all, let me tell my brother here. If yellow machines in a vacuum, they mean nothing. You understand me? This is a government that should be able to chew gum and walk. What is yellow machine to a country that is not working? What are you going to do with the machines?
Is it rhetorical or you want me to respond? I have a response.
No,
You can finish
I don't want you to let me finish. You can respond when I'm done.
Thank you.
So
right,
the
okay.
machine in isolation, they mean nothing. You bring in the machine and you also just you boost the economy, people getting to work. Those are the things that will make the yellow machine meaningful. But you bring the yellow machine, you open the roads, and then what? What is it people are going to use on the road? People need to be able to get to work. So the yellow machines are good. I don't deny that. But the yellow machines in themselves, without a functional economy, they mean nothing. You talk about the LACC investigating the former government. That's not the job of the LACC alone. The LACC is acting right now like it is an investigative arm of this government. It is not. It is supposed to investigate the past government and this government as well. Why is it not investigating the project in Foya? They're running behind Claudia and Finabondo. Those are the only two people they're running behind. Where is Amin Modal? Where is Rosalind Dennis? Where are all these people? So it don't come here and make it seem like the LCC is here to fight for this government. It is here to fight for Liberia. Investigate the past government as well as this current government. Now you talk about, the legislature. Right now, these are three separate governments. Right now, the legislature is acting like a cheerleader, like they are the cheerleader for the executive. They get up and put on yellow clothes and go and sit in the mansion when they're getting paid. Who's going to pay for that? They're getting paid. And they get up and go sit in the mansion to go and celebrate yellow machine. And now it's looking at those are all second-hand machines. You should ask yourself, and we'll come in. I will not take the credit. I will give it to my brother Jerome. We were talking. How do you drop a price from 87 million to 21 million? What does that mean? It means you probably got second-hand machine. Nobody's even paying attention to that. And now the machines they're applying the street, they're bringing down. Some of them are catching fire. And we're going to sit down and talk about yellow machine people who don't like the government. You think it's about liking this government? No, it is not. It is about holding this government accountable.
20 seconds, please.
Yeah. No, I'm done.
Yes, go ahead.
You,
go ahead.
Brother. So, in all due respect, I couldn't agree more with the brother. Thankfully, I always tell people I come from a neutral standpoint. I come from an objective standpoint. So, every round that I've spoken here, if anyone listening and following, or they heard me give flowers where it was due to the government and critique the government when it was necessary. So, let's start with the yellow machines. Let's say it was all brand new machines from wherever they've come, and you put them in the hands of the wrong people. My dear brother, we all know it will not come to fruition. Things will not happen for the country. They will not be used wisely, and they will probably break down. But I watched the ceremony of the yellow machine. They are in a pretty decent condition. We all know they're not brand new.
Mean? What does that mean?
It means that they are in a stable condition that they can function. The purpose that they are brought in the country for, they will function. But here's the thing: they have to be placed in the hands of the right people. And I'm certain that you will not differ with what I'm saying. If it's not placed in the hands of the right people, nothing good will come out of it. So it's our ardent hope that the government puts in place the proper mechanism, put in place the right people that will manage those things. And I said it when they were applying them on the streets. I said, I hope these things land in the hand of the right people, because if not, if it get in the hand of the wrong people, they will place them on the side and they will never ever put them to work, and the country will not benefit from it. So it all comes to who's handling them. It can be brand new, like I earlier stated, and nothing come out of it. It can be used, but if it's placed in the hand of the right people, as we all saw them driving smoothly and they had the names of the different counties, if they get to those counties and the people use them wisely, the right for people put in the right places, it will definitely help the country. There's no way on God's earth I would conform to people who were wearing yellow or what they play, like everybody want to join my club, like Brewer Darling Club, the Invisible 11. Everybody, that was saying that I say, like bro, love mediocrity. Why everyone wearing yellow suit? Then you criticizing George Weah's government who dedicated a cake plane. They can be expected. They are pretty much the same. People wearing yellow outfit like they don't have no other clothes to wear. We just like to display mediocrity. So I'll just leave it at that, my brother.
Here's before we came on the show, I know this topic was going to come about, so I did a little bit of digging. Um, Let me share a chart here. So these are the useful life for the various machines, right? We got excavators, bulldozers, wheel loaders, the motor graders, the dump trucks, and the generators. These are the typical useful life for new ones, right? So now think about, and I think Mr. Nangwe mentioned that these might be used machines that they got based on the price, which it's not easy to, I mean, not too difficult to um, to decide, right? So this is the useful life for these machines, and these are the typical hours that they might last you. And given the kind of work that they might be doing, it could be more or less, right? Let's go to the other chart that I have on here, which I think will give us a little bit of understanding in terms of the cost associated with this, right? This is how much it costs to maintain these kind of equipments, right? Annually, from excavators, you're looking at 36,000 to 70, bulldozers 40 to 80, wheel loaders, you're looking at 30 to 60. Now, I put this on here to give us all a perspective in terms of, in addition to the 22 million that was spent on this thing, there are costs to maintain them annually. In addition to the cost to maintain them, you got to pay the people who drive these things around, right? I don't know how technical we are as a country, but do we have technical people in there that can work on these type of equipments, right? The tire for one of these things costs a lot of money, which is all inclusive part of the maintenance, right? So we are not arguing about having these equipments. What we're arguing is the additional costs, right? And like Mr. Nangwe pointed out, you got to have an economy. If you payroll, if you don't have people producing things in those various county, the roads will just be there, right? So we have to look at this thing holistically. Holistically, this is you guys' show. I just wanted to put this out there so you guys can take a look at it. But if nobody else have any comment, let's jump into the
No, I
next.
do. Let me tag on
Yeah,
quickly, and thank you very
yeah,
much for this beautiful graphic. From our experience on the CMC, we know a thing or two about the yellow machines, right?
yeah, yeah.
What you put up there is pretty close to what we already know. What we have are brand new pieces of yellow machine. Miss Ability will tell you almost every other day, those things will have to go in the shop for maintenance. You got to oil grease them.
Yep.
One of those things burn through about 50 gallons of gasoline per day,
Mm-hmm.
right? And because of the kind of work they do, hydraulics, almost every other week they gotta go sit in the shop and they
Change it.
gotta be over. Yes.
Yeah.
So I heard the former defense minister who has been given the task, he's just starting to recruit people. He's going to recruit about 110,000, 112,000 people, 512 here, 512 here. I think that's about 114 people, 1,014 people. He's just, who are these people? Are they just drivers or are they really making it? We are in the process of sending our people to China. The source of these things, where there are people who have to be trained on how to maintain it. It's a very, very costly exercise. So, we jumping up and down, you bring in pieces of yellow machine and people are, taking the whole day holiday, you wear yellow and they make it sound like, we're jealous or something like that. No, we're not. We're not. We're not competing with the government.
Mhm.
I think if yellow machines come from Waka, come from Ability, I think Liberia wins. The more yellow machines that are in Liberia that are applying, and making our roads pliable, I think it's a win for Liberia. But we're just sounding a note of caution. We can't, what's his name? Amara Kone reminder recently, I think temper our expectation, whatever it is. But I think we have to really prepare ourselves for what is coming. And the legislature is supposed to be asking the hard questions. Well, how are you rolling these things out? Well, what kind of shop do you have? What kind of maintenance plan you have in place? We understand the foreign defenders are already putting for over $4 million just to bring in these machines.
Wow.
$4 million. Was this in the budget? I don't know. I have to go back and look. On what item? Was it under the Ministry of Public Works? Where is this yellow machine, yellow machine going to be situated anyway? Is it a part of, is it under the Ministry of Public Works? Or are they going to be competing with the Ministry of Public Works? What is the Ministry of Public Works supposed to be doing? Why Mr. Samukai is running up and down and touring the country with 285 yellow machines? Under whose authority do they fall? Is it, I mean, so these are all the questions I think the legislature is supposed to be asking, and yet they're taking a holiday to go and sit in the executive mansion and eat toboggi and palm butter and cassava leaf, you know.
And I think,
If I could just add,
yeah, go ahead, Doc. I was just going to
Victor,
come on to you something you said, but go right ahead.
yeah, Victor, just from the very onset, this government has failed to, again, it goes back to vision. What informed the number of machines? What informed the bringing in of those machines? What did the government seek to cure? And how was that conveyed to the public? The public was left in limbo. All we heard about was a collection of machines, 200, and what the distribution is going to look like, the structures that was needed to service, that these machines were going to service. Again, research. In fact, public policy requires research, basic research, and research helps to inform the public. And this is where, again, a question of vision, a question of leadership, this government has failed. This government has failed in those regards. And there's a lot of opportunities. The government has enormous opportunities. If we even go into government-owned public relations, it's a dismal failure because far too often we see the government, and you mentioned the FOIA project and the president's utterances, is that this government has been reactive for the last 3 years. And so we're reacting rather than projecting and being strategic in the face of all the opportunities that exist, And that brings me to the point, and I know we're going to talk about the economic conditions, what have you, but why are we subordinating professionalism for the sake of patronage? Why? And part of the experience going back home is what was clearly seen on the streets of Monrovia. You have a collection of professionals walking the streets, and we prefer patronage. If you're not a partisan, you're not giving credence, you're not listened to, and professionals are there. We're struggling to progress as a nation. We're struggling to be effective as a government, but yet we're preferring patronage rather than professionalism. And that's perhaps is a conversation we can have on another day. I just wanted to bring that in before we started to look at the economic conditions in the country.
Thank you all. And that brings us to the end of this topic. Our next discussion point here is basically, like you alluded to, Doc, is one of my favorite, the economic conditions in Liberia. Since you just landed, I would like to start with you. Not only that, because you just got back from the country, so you might have a fresh perspective in terms of either perceive or basically from your research, perspective, what you were able to ascertain in terms of the economic condition in the country. Dr. William.
Yeah, the economics can be looked at from a multi-tier perspective.
Right.
Initially arriving in the country, you see infrastructurally that things are moving. The roads are being built, structures are going up. In fact, Monrovia skyline, especially if you look from EW Junction, or what you would call the LRA Junction
corridor, yeah.
The corridor, yeah, come from the Shefflin area, Marshall into EW Junction, and all the way, whether it's red light or Syncor, the skyline has changed. I mean, I've been away since May, but even before May, I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot going on. That speaks volume to infrastructure development. It suggests that there is a high level of confidence, economic confidence in the country, and that is propelling people to invest in infrastructure as it is. Now, how that process is now translating to putting food on the table of ordinary people is another challenge. What is evident is that while infrastructure has been built, money isn't circulating as much. It's within an enclave. And so we see the roads, we see the buildings going up, but the folks in the markets aren't receiving as many customers as they did previously. Now, there are many factors responsible for that. One of those factors can be, from an economic standpoint, is that when people have stable electricity, or at least an appreciable level of stability with electricity, they're not going to the market every day. So they're not buying food every day like they would do previously. So market women are going to feel the pinch because people aren't in the market every day prior to the level of stability of electricity. I was there for 5 weeks, and I'll be frank with you. I live in the Painesville area, and if electricity went at any point, it didn't go for more than 30 minutes, 40 minutes. I'll be honest with you. All right. Yes. And I live within the GSA rehab Dupont Road belt. Yeah.
Okay.
Water was in constant supply. Pressure low, but it was in constant supply. And so with those conditions, there's going to be an effect with folks in the marketplace. Yeah. With folks in the marketplace. Are there ways and are there programs that the government can undertake to ensure that money circulates a little faster, a little wider? Yes. There are lots and lots of things that the government can do. One of those suggestions I have forwarded through a program to the Liberia Agency for Community Empowerment. There were too many young people on the streets, school-going kids, young people who could otherwise, instead of selling almonds in front of Ministry of Education, could be doing something more worthwhile. Government could invest. The 1.8 billion that we're projecting, could have been used. Some of that money could have been used to employ and invest in career development for a lot of our young people. Using institutions like Liz, using institutions like the Youth and Sports, using institutions like Public Works to get these people, most of our young people, off the street. Unfortunately, that is not the case. Unfortunately, we've redirected a reasonable amount of that increased budget to remunerations and benefits for folks who are already fattened by the national coffers. And that's unfortunate. But my general assessment of the economic situation in the country is, one, yes, we don't have a plethora of investors in the country. It's not going to happen anytime soon, but the potential is there. There are lots of many other areas government can invest in. Tourism. I took a look at our Stockton Creek area, and Dr. Pearson, when I beheld the Stockton Creek, the Providence Island, and that whole area, I saw $1 billion water industry, marine industry that the country could benefit from. People could be employed. The whole slipway, Jollatown. Yes, it will call for relocation of people. But again, it boils down to vision and leadership. These are things we can plan for. It shouldn't have to happen in 1 year, 2 years. We can plan for them. But it boils down to vision and leadership.
Thank you. Doc, that was a very gross and not just gross but detailed overview of you know of the economy from Dr. William perspective. Um, and I think you both have similar, uh, preview, you know, given the fact that both of you actually are in and out of the country. But I would also like to hear from your perspective. I know you're kind of a little bit more harsh on this government, so I want to hear that side as well. What are your thoughts?
So when we talk about the economy of Liberia, it reminds me like when we're back in the interior, when you went on someone's cassava farm and you just enter the cassava farm and they pull one stick of cassava and you see it looking big and your boy and eat it, you press the man and see the man get big farm, right? But if you have to
Okay.
claim the palm tree and look down the farm, you notice that just if you walk 5 foot this way, 5 foot another way, back and forth, the farm is over with. That's Liberia in my purview when it comes to economic development. Majority of what we would brag about in Liberia, like I heard my brother Dr. Williams saying, the RIA road. Dr. Williams, we paved that road after the civil crisis. When Ellen was in power, we paved that very road from RIA to Monrovia. We didn't pave it from RIA all the way to Buchanan City. Right? Now, anywhere we can build roads, whatever a little reach of roads we can build, it's a plus for our country. But let me say this. When I hear people talk about Liberia, infrastructure is taking place, it saddens me. This is a country 178 years since independence, and everything we boast about is in the perimeter of Monserrado County, primarily. And the very Monserrado County, the capital we boast of, the commercial capital Monrovia, does not even represent a modern day a city. If you were to put a title and say this is a city, it doesn't represent a city. It looks like a big village on a highway. Right? Why do we bring Liberia down to the level and feel like for political reason when somebody put one little stretch, one small little roundabout and say, oh, development happening. Somebody pay for a road from ELA Junction to RIA. Oh, development happening. No. Dr. Williams, you talk about electricity. Yeah, I have to got property around the same place you're talking about and think, yeah, I go there, carry on. But let me say this to you. That little Pinsville and Monserrado and little spot, the current is get in the plane and fly over Liberia and see how dark the country is. Get outside of Pinsville City. Get outside past Carisburg, past other past Douala side. Just go out of the outskirts of the country. The place is dark. The country is literally dark. So I don't understand. No, Liberia, look, if we continue to see Liberia as it is in the mediocre approach to seeing and saying we're boasting about, oh, progress is being made. For me, progress is not made until the lives of the people are changed at the county's level, the rural level. And let me say this, 78 to 80% of our population are considered to be vulnerably employed, meaning either they're doing petty business or they're doing the agriculture here and there, where Liberian men call from hand to mouth. That is not a vibrant economy. No. Because the fact of the matter is that our people are impoverished. The electricity we're talking about, Mr. Williams, our people struggle to even put units on the meter. And even the put units on the meter, they can even run the freezer or the Xbox to freeze the food like you're suggesting. Maybe that will cut the trips to the market. No, that just few of us will do that. That few of us can allow our lights to be on for the whole night and the day so that you don't lose the temperature in the fridge or in the Xbox by turning it off in the day and putting it on in the night only. No, those are fantasy. When a few of us can afford to burn a generator that runs like 20 gallons or 10 gallons or 5 gallons every night when there's no electricity, there's just few of us. So I would say it this way, right? And then in addition to this, we have a government who now is stepping up local taxes to VAT, all right, value added tax that are double taxing the people, and without creating jobs and employable opportunities for the people in the private sector. The few live business in vulnerable employment the people have to succeed and live, we go about and tax them running that country. Those guys are paying themselves fast salaries, are riding multi-million-dollar vehicles at the expense of the ordinary people. And this is wrong. I don't see development taking place in Liberia. I end on this, Gabriel. A friend of mine from my office went to Liberia. And I was like, usually I was giving you some spots to visit, because there are some places that are attractive in Monrovia and along other areas, right? I gave him spot to visit. When he went there, he couldn't go anywhere outside of Pinsville City because people were guarding him in his movement because he's an American citizen, right? African American. And this guy came back and he said, Dr. Pearson, you're so passionate about Liberia. You always talk about Liberia in the office. And I went there. He said, "Wow, is that Liberia?"
That's a low blow without.
Gabriel, this guy's perception of Liberia was that it is an American colony. We normally say Liberia was never colonized, right? But in his mind, he believed because Liberia had been promoted over Trump saying President Barack speak beautiful English, and they started getting to understand what Liberia. They want to know what Liberia is. Oh, Liberia was funded by free slaves from America and blah blah blah. So his expectation was huge. When this guy went to Liberia, just from RA to Tinga Village, the guy couldn't wake up the next day. I know he got bad though, but I mean he couldn't wake up the next. So what I'm saying in short is that even some of us sitting here, Gabriel, you are embarrassed to take people to Liberia. Let me be frank with you. You're embarrassed. And not because you're ashamed of your own home, your own country, but we have not done much
for the age that we have as a country. Right. Yeah.
That's what I want to say.
Thank you. I share your sentiment for the age we have as a country. For 178, 79 years old, and you go there, and you look at the country, and you look at our peers, and sometimes you scratch your head, But let me take the same question to Mr. Nangwe. Mr. Nangwe, I always like to put this in a purview that you are now in a position to look at the country in a broader sense, right? Because of the position that you're in, right? Same question to you. How would you describe the current state of the economy? Yeah, and what do you think are some of the big,
so let me probably draw in a little bit of relativity, and that will probably paint a better picture. So relative to the sub-region, and like you said, the penetration in the Ivory Coast is about 70%. About 70% of the population is reportedly getting access to electricity. When you move to Ghana, it's about 85-90%. This is I just Googled it, so you can Google it too. In Liberia, and you can take it from Sam Jackson. He knows something about electricity supply. In Liberia, we are around 33%. 33%
penetration in terms of access. Access. Yeah.
And my brother Dr. Williams here, we are in Monrovia. Even the Monrovia we're boasting. First of all, Monrovia is not Liberia. There was a guy on the show the other day, we get electricity. He was in Buchanan, no electricity in Monrovia, no electricity in Monrovia. And he's proud that electricity is in Liberia. No. So it's reported about 54% of the urban areas, including Monrovia, got power. Even in the Monrovia area, we're still below the sub-region. And then when you go out of Monrovia, you go to Baroba, where I'm from, if you see 10% of the people having access to electricity, they're lucky. How do you expect the economy to function? Right now, the world is talking about e-commerce. And when you talk about connectivity, Wi-Fi, all that, I'll put just need to pick up the cell phone when you can call, then you got, then you already get, no. We all go to Monrovia. I was in Monrovia in January. You leave your apartment, you can't even make a call.
Yeah.
because the signal is so weak. How is it that any business person who is supposed to conduct their business virtually is going to go to Monrovia? These are some of the things we're talking about. You have to create the conditions that are business friendly. You got to bring in electricity, right? Make it available. Yeah, when it's dry season time, the whole country is disconnected. Where I'm from, and I keep making up that, and I'm sure we say here is from the southeast too. You know what I'm talking about. During the rainy season, the whole southeast is cut off from the rest of Monrovia. People have to go to the Ivory Coast to get salt. And this has been going on before your dad and my dad were born. Every government that comes in, they put money in the budget to do the Ganta Harbour Highway. Some of them don't have $50 million in the budget. That road is still impossible. So when we talk about the economy, there are some basic things that must be present. Electricity being one of them.
Yeah.
Internet, Wi-Fi connectivity now. This is not our grandfather's world. The world of today, or you and our children's world, they're talking virtual business. Jerome Game and I were in Monrovia in January. We went to NI. We saw the NIC man at the executive mansion. We want to come by and get some information. You got to physically. He said you should physically come to the office. What does that mean? I should be able to sit in London or New York or Paris
Access. Yeah.
and access anything in Liberia. Why do I need to go to? I need to physically go to the National Investment Commission to get the information that I need. These are some of the things that are crippling us. So we go to Monrovia. Look, we go to Monrovia. Even people who are working in Monrovia are begging. And excuse me, not everybody, but I'm just saying it like it is.
Yeah.
Most of the people who are even working, they're not making enough money to make ends meet between paychecks. They get broke before the second week. Some of them even get broke on the day they get paid because they're paid so little. So we're talking about growing the economy. The president talking about 70,000 jobs. 70,000 jobs. That's only people shining shoe on the sidewalk. That job, they consider that job. We're talking about livable wage. An income that will allow you to pursue happiness.
Yeah.
Why can't you pursue happiness in Liberia? Why? We're condemned. People here are pursuing happiness. Even next door to Ghana, you go to Ghana, like you in New York. And Ghana was battled just 30, 45 years or so ago.
In the early 2000s, yeah.
Thank you very much. They made a decision. They got leaders. Jerry Rawlings and other people came on and said, you know what, we can't be like this. Why can't we get that kind of leaders in Liberia? So I think it's about vision. It's about leadership. Our economy right now, relative to the rest of the region, is in the dumps. What is it that what are we really making? You saw the Phoebe or something. We're producing rubber. They don't have gloves in the hospital. Largest rubber producing farm in the world. We have it in Liberia. We can't even make rubber. We don't have slippers. We don't have straw to drink. We got nothing. So, I gave you the economist, the levers that for me, from a layman's perspective, I can't even talk about the economy that we have in Liberia. What is it that we have? We have it, but we are not judiciously applying methods that will benefit us. So we surrender our means of generating income to foreigners, and then we take pennies on the dollar. I mean, how many people have not talked about the kind of concession agreement? Even recently, the LIA boss was at the legislature. They're crying them to pass better laws.
Yep.
We make these concessions. The royalty, whatever we're getting, is so minimum. Either we don't know, we don't care, or both. We surrender everything. We're giving $250 million to Liberia Traffic Management, a non-Liberian entity, for 25 years.
That is wild.
How much sense does that make? So, I'm sorry, but we are our own enemies. And we got to face up to it. We have to face up to it.
I agree with you. And, I think, again, this is you guys' show. I'm just a host here. So But I think there's a lot that is wrong with Liberia. I think maybe 80% of it, I would say, is just ignorance, right? There's a quote. I don't know who quote that is attributed to, but it says the wise is willing to, to educate the ignorant, you know, only on the presumption that the ignorant is willing to learn, right? And I think Dr. William talked about this. There are a lot of professional, like some of you guys, who are very technical in what you do, but will you be able to, find your way within the government to apply some of these things, or would they be able to allow you in there to do some of these things? I think part of that is part of the ignorance that we're dealing with. We're not short of talent, but I think the ignorant of those in power, weaponizing ignorance is part of the problem. Uh, I hear on that.
I just wanted to quickly
Elston,
add again the
Yeah.
arrogance.
yeah,
Good point.
When you
yeah,
come into government, don't be that arrogant to think you can do it alone. I think you should
yeah,
be magnanimous in your victory. You should get the best and the brightest.
yeah,
I can come from CMC and go to my brother we say here who supposed the UP and say, look, maybe you're a better technician than Jerome Gamer is when in the CMC. Come and
yeah,
help us. I think we should be big enough to belittle, if we call that belittling ourselves, and go and beg for the help, but that
yeah.
is required to get the job done. This whole thing
Agree.
about partisan politics, because you won,
Patronage.
you
Exactly.
gotta, yeah, because the party won, so every job must go to the party. I think that is wrong.
Yeah.
I just wanted to
Yeah.
throw that in.
No, thank you. I think you guys are absolutely right. It's I don't want to put my head into this topic, so let me turn it over to Elson.
Thank you. So,
Yeah,
firstly, I want to commend Dr. Williams. I think you spoke like a realist. You spoke from what you saw. I want to surmise that maybe you didn't go to the farthest parts away from Monrovia, so you didn't get to see those places. And we all know that government is continuity, and with time, things gets better, and lights will get a little more consistent on those ends of the country. We want to see lights in every, nook and crannies. We want to see lights in every corner of the country. But in the city, I heard that the LEC boss and the water and sewer boss, my very close friend Mohammed Ali, more affectionately called Mo Ali, is doing very well on that side. Look, listen, with regards to the point that Mr. Nangwe made, Mr. Nangwe, you are not wrong. You are so right. Ghana is doing well. Ghana gained her independence somewhere in March of '57, and Ghana have not had war unlike Liberia, so they feel good for our doctor up there whose friend went to Liberia. The feel good is we'll tell him that we've had a period of prolonged civil upheaval, and war is deadly, and everyone saw it. 14 years of war that eliminated over a quarter of a million people, somewhere around 250 million people. It takes a toll on the nation. So we're trying to get back on our our right footing. So it doesn't hurt for somebody to see progress and see something meaningful in the country, like having lights more consistent to where he was, and he acknowledged, acknowledged that. Look, and with regards to what we're talking, I'll give you an example. The last government, when the youth and sports minister, that happens to be my discipline, my area of expertise when I was practicing in Liberia journalism. The last minister of youth and sports, Zoga Wilson, he happened to play with George Weah on the national team, and George Weah found out that he was qualified and sent him to the Ministry of Youth and Sports. I remember vividly, like today, his last press conference, there was a hefty sum of money that were attributed to the youth arm of the Ministry of Youth and Sports, and they diverted it to something totally different. I have to find that clip and I will send it to you all. And he alluded to it that they were sorry that it happened because there was something else that the money was not intended for, and that's why they spent the money on. And we all saw it. There's no way anyone can counter that. When they left power, Zoga Wilson spoke just the other day and said they failed the country, as a government, and he doesn't necessarily have to infer other areas that were not their expertise, like the most essential ones, like education, healthcare, and other pertinent departments of government. But the mere fact that they came to prominence through sports and they fail in sports, it takes time for the country to pick up those pieces, and that's why we expect this government to do better, and we persist that the government must do better, and that way we must call out the wrongdoings. And I love the pressure that the people who are opposed to the government put on the government, because if this government fails, it gets bad for the country. Look at Liberia. We are a country that has easily on the second highest in terms of Nobel Peace Prize amongst the countries for Africa that have achieved that feat. South Africa is at top. I think like 4 people from South Africa have won the Nobel Peace Prize, 2 from Liberia, Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and Lema Bowie. But Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, I was disappointed. I left Liberia 2007 and moved to the USA with my entire family. Fortunately for me, from my father, Councillor, we always said, brought my entire family to the States. When I went back to Liberia 2017, I was dispirited when I got to the country. Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, a very educated woman at that. And we all know we have come from a prolonged war. The people invested a lot of money in the international community, a lot of funds, because while everything played in her favor, we have come from a long civil crisis, and she was a female and a very educated one at that. So the international community really supported her tenure as president. But to my utmost surprise, from 2007, I left Liberia to my first return, 2017, I saw nothing. All the roads have potholes along all the major streets. Like I always tell people, if they have cemented and fixed the major streets and the little corner streets have potholes, I wouldn't mind. But you drive on Pinzio Road, Congotown Bar Road, Congotown Main Road, Cinco, where I'm from, Matadi, all the roads were deplorable, leads to say the Somalia Drive and all the other roads that lead to whether New Georgia, Gardnersville, the roads were all deplorable, in deplorable state. So I say that to mean that Liberia have had the misfortune of electing terrible presidents, considering we elected Chancellor who initiated a war. This is a brutal fact, but the fact must be stated. Chancellor who led a whole war, and he came to Monrovia through the IGNU interim government, and then he opted to run for presidency, and the people sang in a number, "You kill my mind, kill my party," voted for him, made him president. We saw how that ended, where he is today. And then we led a footballer straight from football. And to George Weah credit, he wanted to go into LFA because that was my era. And the people denied George Weah the opportunity. That's why he took the route of the Senate, and then he made it to the presidency because the people resonated with his story. And here we are today. If the government feels Liberia must look in a different direction, I will find somebody like a business person or someone who is business savvy. There are a lot of Liberians out there. Like I said, I look at the like of Councillor Gonglo, Mr. Cummins, and well-meaning people. And we still have a few years before 2029. Someone else who name is not in the pot right now could throw his name out there for the next election. But we got to figure the country out. It's a puzzle. So we have to keep figuring the pieces until we get it right. I mean, I'll retire there for now.
I think the die has been cast for 2029 already. If you haven't put your hand in the pot, you're not eating come 2029 already. That ball has been set. You know, the hands are already in the pot. So I know you wish somebody will come from outside, maybe a third party or somebody.
Yeah, but they can do a coalition with one of the
somebody new will come in.
Yeah, they can form unison with somebody who's in a top position up there and do something. But we'll see.
Gabriel, if I may,
go ahead.
If I may, I just want to throw light. And I listen to Dr. Pearson. I understand his frustration at the slow pace of development across the country. But Edson just made the point that development is a process. Could it have gone faster? Yes. Could successive governments have pushed us further up the development spectrum? Yes, but they didn't. They didn't. Can this government do more than they're doing? Yes, they can. Again, part of our challenge right now is a problem of vision and leadership. There's a lot that can be done in the country, and some of those are simple tools, simple policies that can be instituted to spearhead and spike employment, especially employment for our people, especially the young people. But there's a difference, and we have to recognize that there's a difference between progress and development. And for the selection of the right descriptors is that we're experiencing progress. We with a level of development. It may not be as transformative as we might like it. When I left Liberia, the streets, the Roberts Street you're talking about today, Dr. Pearson, were 2 lanes. Today, it's about 4 lanes. It's about 4 lanes. Is it completed? No. Can it be done any faster? Yes. But that's progress, and it has to be recognized. We aren't, as a nation, where we want to be, but we're not where we were 4 or 5 years ago. We're not there. We're beyond it, and we must recognize it. We must appreciate it. As a nation, as a people, I am yet to see a leader who will come and overnight. We don't make believe that this government under President Barker could transform the country in 3 weeks, in 3 years. No, it's almost impossible. It's almost impossible. But is it probable? Yes. Yes. There are policies that can be instituted that can take us to the next level. And a lot of those policies that are lacking right now are more structural than infrastructure or economic, because the economics we're talking about boils down to the structural defects. We're not dealing with the structural defects. We're trying to fix the roof without reimagining and resetting the foundation. And this is where we're having the problems. 2029, we continue to look at 2029 and forgetting that to get to 2029, there's a lot that has to be done, that must be done, so that 2029 and beyond becomes more responsive to the needs of the country. For too long, have we had leaders without an agenda? They come in and they do the same thing. They use the same playbook. Party after party. The new ones, the old ones, they use the same playbook. So we are where we are because we continue to invest in individuals rather than in the institutions that should move our country forward. And so the whole concept of calling names, is carrying us nowhere, because those people haven't even been able to put forward a blueprint to move us nationally forward. It's all about self-preservation, self-propulsion, and Liberia is where it is. We're still where we are.
Yeah, and to you guys' point, I think we sometimes relegate development to this, gradation, meaning you just have to take your time. Everything happens in incremental stages, so it's about continuity. But in the same breath, you guys are saying that if this is a big if, certain policies were implemented, we could go from gradation, all these incremental changes, growth, to transformative, which is a word Dr. William keep using, transformative growth. Development, right? But all of that is predicated on the budget, what you want from the government, right? You can come and say, you know what, I'm going to have this massive infrastructure plan or policy. I'm going to have this massive agriculture policy. But if your budget is all going towards reoccurring expenses, bulk of it going to the hands of the Senate, the representative, and the president, and all of those elite, all of those plans that we just talked about, these policies, mean nothing. So in order to have that transformation, that budget has to be it has to be amended. The way we allocate revenues and expenses in a budget has to be overhauled. Meaning you have to cut salaries, you have to cut all these perks to these people that the Senate with the cost of you giving somebody $2,000 to for house maintenance for a scratch card, you giving them car at the same time. At the same time, you're paying them 8,000 to 15,000 a month, right? So all of these things, we want them to happen, but if you don't change the way the budget is done, these are just policy that we're going to create. People are going to put these things out. They're going to seem elaborate, very intentional, but they're just going to be on the back burner because you won't have the capital to fund them if you get in power, right? So I yield on that.
Can you give me 30 seconds quickly?
Yeah.
You know, I like when Elston talked about we're coming from war and war is devastating. It's been over 20 years, right? And I like when Nangwe say let use some relativity here. Let relate it to like a country like that walking similar path like us, Uganda. Even though we may have, and I'm not saying we are 100% the same, but we have similar experience, right? Uganda came out of war by, let's say, 1986. And by 1996, Uganda has transformed. I mean, I'm not saying they say. You look up their story. Within 6 to 10 years, the country was totally transformed. Right, and that's why I don't buy the idea about incremental. We are 178 years since independence. Don't tell me say we incremental or we're waiting for it's a process and then the development along the way. When you want to achieve a significant change in the trajectory of the country, you have to be serious about it. What I see in Liberia is all politically driven. It's just political optics. It's not honesty. It's not being genuine with the issue and trying to fix the problem. People do things like the yellow machine case. Everybody wore yellow to be identified with the fact that people have to have a yellow machine so they can be associated with yellow machine for the next election. That's all. But the accountability aspect that would have led to $60 million being lost by someone stealing it. None of that came up for consideration. None of that came up. My brother, and I want to clarify this, and I leave you. But my brother mentioned that the OAU claimed that property in Foya. Not claiming, he didn't use the word claim, but he mentioned like it is OAU who provided funding. OAU said they have nothing to do with that property. They did not put a dime in that property. They made an official statement to that effect. The slickness of our politicians is to name the building after OAU, to give it the MRU. It's an MRU or OAU, one of the two. MRU to give it a look as if to say they are involved in it. They have nothing to do with our property. Nothing. That money was stolen from SOEs. I guess if we not put pressure on it, would have been some other hotel. You know, and these things are wrong. These things are wrong.
If you don't mind, I'll take 5 seconds to just add to what he just said.
Yeah. Quickly before you do that, let me say this. Let me add this, then you can react to all of them, right? So, to pick up where Pearson is leaving off, we have the Unity Conference Center that is lying in ruins. But no, we're not going to repair that because the cost of repair is too small. We got to give money to President Bwakai's nephew to go and build a conference center in Foya, a place that is logistically challenged. To go and put a $10 million project there only because the nephew has to get something in his pocket. Right? Now, we're talking about continuity. You know, it is only when we talk about, you got to hire this man, retain this man, and then we're talking about continuity. Where is the national agenda that we're continuing on? Right? Ellen Johnson came, I think she brought poverty reduction, and Weah came, he brought purple, whatever you call that, and then now we have the arrest agenda for inclusive. Every government that comes in, they throw away the previous government's agenda. Where's the continuity? Where are we? What are we continuing on?
Yeah.
What is it that we are continuing on? Every government that comes in will craft out its own agenda. When they get out the door, that agenda walks out the door with them, right? President Ellen Johnson time, the president Dr. Bwaka was vice president too. Clarence Moneyback as the presidential delivery unit manager. When they left, President we have brought Lincoln Kui. Lincoln left. Now today we have Brandon Samuka, the same Bwaka who was with Ellen Johnson when they did their own special project. So it is like everyone who comes in, they're reinventing the wheel. Where's the continuity we're talking about? That is part of our problem. And then you have this greedy do nothing legislature, $51 million. If you take that and
They're the
divide by
worst.
104 people, that's an average of $490,000 per year that each of these people get to do nothing, to put on yellow clothes and go sit in the mansion.
They're the worst.
And we pay them.
Worst.
What can be more egregious than that? So, I know everybody likes their own crook. They say we align well, but we have to really put country first. If we don't, another 200 years down the road, we'll continue to remain behind every country that is behind. They say, even Sierra Leone is passing by us now. Everybody,
Mm-hmm.
everybody. So we need to wake up.
I can go now.
Yes, Mr.
Thank
Wisam.
you.
Yes. So I'm glad, my brother, you brought up Uganda, somewhere where I was fortunate to have gone a couple of years ago. I was
Is
in
it Uganda or Rwanda?
Uganda.
I was thinking
Uganda.
Rwanda too. Is it Rwanda or Uganda?
Rwanda is very developed. That's where Paul Kagame is, but Uganda is where
you
Museveni.
meant Uganda then.
It's where Yoweri Museveni is president for over 40 years. I was just glad that you brought that country up because true, they've moved along because they had their civil crisis in the 80s. And we were just starting our civil crisis when they were finishing theirs. So it's true. When you come from their major airport, it's in Itembe. When you ride up, they have like we're in the great United States of America. We have toll booth. They have toll booth there. 2 days ago was my birthday, and I spoke very passionately about Liberia, how we need to do better and pick up the pace because you go to Uganda, you see toll booth when you leave Itembe Airport going to Kampala, the capital. So yeah, they have their own downside. Like every area has its ups and downs. We fought war, but look at today. You can stay in the open any part of Liberia in opposition and speak. And I gave that credit to even the past government of George Weah. Like I said, I try to be as objective as it gets. George Weah allowed freedom of speech, and today the government is allowing the opposition to speak. So I was in Uganda. You cannot just speak freely everywhere. I remember we went to one entertainment center in Kampala, and I was being very outspoken, and they were like, "You got to tune it down small because you don't just get away with saying anything here." I said, "I understand," and I had to tune it down. So we fought war, but Liberia is way better than in terms of freedom of speech, and we all know we have our journalism, Kamara Abdullah Kamara law that allows for us to have freedom of speech in Liberia, which is unlike Uganda. Same as Kenya. Kenya is a very beautiful country. I've traveled pretty extensively around there, and yeah. So I'm glad you brought it up so that people don't think everything is all rosy and set. Everywhere has its up and down. Thank you, my brother.
Thank you. And I think that brings us, hopefully we have enough time to the last part of this discussion, which is something I've alluded to earlier. There's the 2029 train seems to have already started. And, even though to your point, I would love to see another candidate comes in who is different from the rest that we have on the table right now. But I think that dial has already been cast. And we want to talk about basically, you guys are the political experts here. So let's talk about the political climate in Liberia right now ahead of this, which will be probably the most contested election in the history of this country, 2029. Again, Dr. William, I would like to start with you. Again, based on your experience in Liberia, I know you've had probably lots of conversation with folks, on the ground, in terms of what is happening in Liberia. What are some of the conversation that you think people are having? Are they more, in support of this government, or do you think they're looking for an alternative to come in? What the conversation that we hear in the diaspora is, we've had CDC, we've had Unity Party, and we think we're ready for a third option, somebody different, somebody new, someone transformative. And I think we said alluded to that, and I think you keep alluding to the transformative word over and over. What are some of the conversation you're hearing, in Liberia?
Again, Gabriel, thanks for the questions, and thanks to my colleagues for the insights so far. I think this is an opportunity to perhaps reintroduce what some friends of ours, including some of the
Yes.
folks on the platform right now, are beginning to talk about. And you keep hearing the word transformative leadership, transformative
Yes.
development.
Yeah.
What Liberia lacks right now is an agenda for transformation. But on the streets, people are talking about it. On the streets, people want something different. On the streets, people want to see governance reimagined. On the streets, people want to see things done differently. How that's going to happen, it's still sketchy. We're all divided and scattered in many different political corners. Um, but there are a few of us who believe that one way to go about this uh, is to place focus on the national legislature. The legislature stands as the fulcrum of governance in the country, and if that body can be transformed, if that body can be strengthened, if that body can be populated with the right candidates, uh, it will do well in propelling us forward, regardless of who's president. So I come from the background of the Agenda for Liberia's Transformation is an ideological movement. And the idea is to do three primary things. One, to serve as a think tank, to proffer ideas and suggestions that this government, any other government, can utilize um, to move the country forward, to identify candidates for the 2029 process. We want to do that. We will look around wherever we can. Instead of having people tell us that they want to be, we will be looking for people. We will go into the bushes and talk to people who we believe have the wherewithal to move our country forward. And then on the third angle of that is to mobilize resources to help those very people. It's not going to be easy. It's a private venture. Private individuals are going to come around. This is an idea that's been marketed across the diaspora and in Liberia. We're working to see that happen. It's paramount that we focus on the legislature, and that eventually, when energies converge and ideas come together, when this gains fruition, we will definitely see leaders crop up. We will definitely see leaders crop up. At this point, the focus is not on the presidency, but just going back to your point, there's a lot of clamor about 2029. People in government offices right now are more focused on 2029 than doing the little bits of responsibilities and jobs they have to do. All on social media, they're focused on 2029. And it is my impression that the president and his able lieutenants, who are well-meaning, can begin to clamp down on this. I think people who are interested in 2029 need to be offloaded so that this government focuses on delivering for the people. This government delivers for the people. Almost at every level of government, people are more focused on 2029. As a result, the level of inefficiencies, the level of the instances of anomalies that are being recorded in the public space has direct relations to people's interests in 2029. And that's unfortunate because we're losing a perfect opportunity to transform the country, but we're here more focused on 2029. And many of us might not even see 2029. Today, here we are. Former District Number 7 Representative Solomon George, who I happen to have seen on my last visit to Monrovia, just was announced dead today. And Solo had interest in running again. And so we're clamoring for 2029. We're not promised tomorrow. We're not promised tomorrow. Let's do our best. You know, those of us who've had the opportunity of being in the profession of mortuary science, you know, the Embalmer's Creed. All the good that I can do, I passed through this world but once. All the good that I can do, let me do it now, for I know not when I pass this way again. If Solomon George knew he wouldn't pass this way again, he would have given Liberia and District 7 his best. Many of us who are looking forward to 2029 may not see 2029. So we're wasting our time. Instead of giving our best to the country, we're more focused on saving it for 2029 and beyond. Oh, I will become this, and then I will do that, when the country is waiting for us at this moment. And so to all of us, you know, across the country, 2029 has become the biggest distraction, and this government can help itself by offloading those people who are evidently more focused on 2029 than doing the people's job. Beyond that, and closely connected to that, is the number of times they are seen on social media when they should be doing government job. We have government officials who are modeling on social media when they should be doing the government job. We just talked about policies and ways to make governance more effective. By now, I would have thought that a social media policy would have been instituted for government officials. No public government official should be on social media outside of doing government job.
Yeah.
If whatever you post has no relations to your responsibilities at a public ministry or agency, you should be sanctioned. You want to be a model, go model somewhere else. But you can't be modeling and be in government office at the same time. What does it say to the public? That we're not serious. That government is not serious. That serving in government is play. We have to take government more serious. It's a sacred opportunity to serve your country. And you don't get in there and model your way, have parties and what you call it? Give dollar bills to people. Go have your little private party. But don't put it on social media. If you make that mistake, we should be sanctioned. Government needs a social media policy for all public officials, including legislators. Yeah. At the level of the legislators, we need to come up with policies to ensure that those people in the legislature cannot be active business people while they serve our country. How are they making laws? What laws are they making? How can somebody like Thomas Fowler talk about education and effectively pass laws for education if he's not serving himself? If he's not serving himself, Senator Dillon is running a rehab program. How is it possible? How can he postulate policies and laws for rehab if he's not serving himself? These are simple things. We cannot continue to run government the way it's been run. Some things have to change, and it will change. But we have to be a part of that change. We have to pursue the change, and we have to speak. All of these names are calling are people who are very dear to me. But we have to speak to them. Liberia cannot. We're talking Ghana. We're talking Rwanda. It took vision and leadership in Rwanda. Today in Rwanda, people go to job 8 o'clock. You go to Monrovia. Do not set an appointment for government official in Monrovia. They leave you hanging. You be at the office 3-4 hours and they say, oh, I forgot. Things happen. But leadership is different. Leadership is different. Leadership is respecting even the people with whom you make appointments. Leadership is putting the country first. Putting the country first. And too many of our officials aren't putting the country first. Too many of them aren't putting the country first. And that legislature is where we need to focus. So I talked to Mr. Nangwe, I talked to Dr. Pearson, I talked to you, Mr. Carter, and now we have Elston with us, Mr. Wisa. Yes, let's focus on the legislature. Let's all rally around the agenda, draw up an agenda for Liberia's transformation, and ensure that we can populate the legislature with individuals who represent and reflect our aspirations for Liberia. I promise you, too many of those in the legislature do not represent who we are. But unfortunately, Yaka Kalubas and all of that, Mr. Nangwe, represent us. Mr. Pearson, they represent us. If he come to America now, they say, oh, your representative was here. Can you deny he's not? He is. We put him there. So we got to do better. We got to be that change, the agent of change that we want to see happen to the country. And so I stop there for now.
Thank you. And I think, again, a word that you keep using is leadership, leadership, leadership. But again, for me, I think all of these things starts from the top. Doc, you can't say, hey, as representative or, some head of a state-owned enterprise who's supposed to be in his office at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, is not going in the office, but the president is doing nothing about it. There's no, punitive, consequences for not working. Like you said, we see them on social media all the time when they should be in office. What is the president doing about that? Is he even aware of these things? Right? So we talk about leadership. It starts from the top. 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 The buck stops with the president, and I don't think he has any clue of that. He is too, he's too old. He's not paying attention to that. So everybody is just making up their own things as they go along. So that's, anyways. Dr. Pearson.
Yeah, Gabriel. I think the political climate in ahead of 2029 is not favoring the Unity Party as we speak. A lot of the politicians, even the legislators, like Priscilla Cooper has a current beef running on the radio now with her constituents, where she's on record blasting at the people for begging her, for money to cater for their needs. But again, when you have people who the means of livelihood is not reaching to them, of course they will be very unsatisfied with their leaders who they have given the right to the lead, and the fact that she was even complaining that they are begging, and then they are on the air telling her, "But you beg us too, like you came here to beg us for the position we elected you. Now you tell us that we beg us," and and then the people telling her to tune down the rhetoric and not to speak down to the people. And then I listened to Darius DeLon yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday on OKFM with Julius J, where they were talking about the demolition in the country that is taking place. The demolition are planned, right, to see how best they can have the people properly positioned to absorb the shock of those demolition. And hundreds of people are being displaced. And DeLon spoke on I mean, he was being honest. He was a little balanced, but at some point he said, when there's an alley and people live in the alley and the government has to clear the alley, and people took issues with that, because if you saw your constituents living in alley, either way, what proactive measures did you take to have them relocated, like to discuss them out of the situation before government get ready to break their homes down? What other alternatives did you provide them? Did you sit in a town hall with them to understand what their economic conditions are? Because sometimes just moving alone is not as easy as it sounds, right? Especially where you've been for over 20 years, 30 years, probably been stuck there because of the crisis and stuff like that. So I think they have to be more sensitive, the Unity Party, or else they are lagging behind. But again, in politics, 3-4 years from now, that's a long time for anything to change. Well, a lot could go in a different direction, like the William would want to say. And that William, just to your point, far job, the mark time is fast spent. You know, you mentioned the legislator who are owning things or running businesses in a legislature. But listen, you know, our constitution is well designed to put in place check and balances. So the same way, the representatives and senators are now holding President Parker accountable for a letter he sent to them trying to mislead them to take $80+ million from the country on a bogus old-time friend relationship that now dropped from $80+ million to $22+ million. And that $22+ million, it came from Echo Bengal. They took it on credit. They took on credit from Echo Bank, and it caused a little problem for Echo Bank around the December era when there was no money in the bank. And when we get some money to our fund money, went to the bank and said, "Oh, system down," but there was no money in the banks. The banks were getting strangled, and they had to I don't know, call it liquidate them, whatever the strategy they use. But I mean, those are the kind of situations. So the legislature is not checking and balancing. This executive, they wore yellow today to go to the president to go do political optics. But at the same time, those businesses we're talking about, I agree, it shouldn't be happening. But who gave them the licenses to perform, to open those businesses? It's the executive. You cannot open a business in Liberia if the executive branch of government does not give you a business registration or give you your what they call the permit to operate. Your business registry annually. You get it from the FDR. You know, so I mean, it's politics. That how they want to play. The people suffer, but at the end of the day, Gabriel, what I would say to you, we are observing, we are taking note, and we believe that at some point in time, like everyone is saying, there has to be an alternative, and I feel strongly towards Alexander Cummings, with an open mind, like William is saying, we're going to carry on the process and see how best we can weigh out the very political playing field and see who are in the playing field when time draws near, and then we'll make a decision at that point. I'm not going to be tied to an individual 100%, like some people say, I would die with it person. No, I want someone who will take the country forward. So if I have an opinion today, that opinion is open to change based on our own assessment at the end of the line. And I know Namu will be with us as well. Namu will be with us as well.
I see where you're going with that, Mr. Nangwe. On to you before I go to Mr. Wiset. I know we are literally out of time, so
yeah. Thank you very much.
Going on here. All right.
Thank you very much. Great show, and thanks to my colleagues on set. Brought a lot of information, and we continue to I think may FOL proud. I just wanted to remind Dr. Williams. I think he said that the president should push the government, all those who are looking towards 2029. Well, I'm here to tell you that President Boakai says he's looking to 2029. I mean, Thomas Fowler is all over the place organizing to return President Boakai. Even if he's not, then it means he got to push from his vice president down. So, it's going to be an impossible task. I just wanted to remind you. But look, I wanted to talk a little bit about the economy and the budget in 2 minutes, maybe 1 minute. We at the CMC, we are making the argument that the budget in this current form is completely disconnected from the people. The people don't feel a part of the budget. They don't feel anything that represents them in the budget. And we think that's a travesty. We're going to change that. Take, for instance, just imagine 73 electoral districts. If you put away just $1 million for every district, that's $73 million compared to the legislature alone taking $50 million, 104 people, you'll be given 73, and you do that for 2-3 budget years. I think you will unlock a lot. And this is just one of the ideas we're floating around. But we think that the budget should actually represent the hopes and aspirations of the people. The way it is right now, we don't think the ordinary person doesn't even know what the budget means, let alone how it is supposed to impact them. So we're looking to change that. We think the budget as it is, one, is untenable. The expenditure envelope, this $1.2 billion we're talking about. We all know almost $900 million of that is going to recurring expenditure. Whereas the $200 million we're getting from ArcelorMittal instead of taking that money and increasing the benefits and all of that, we thought that money you put it into a bank and give it form a cooperative and empower our farmers. So there are lots of ideas we're having, but we're looking to 2029. And so I'm just saying we're betting on what we're doing. We're
Yeah.
going around the country. We started with Nimba, we're in Bang, we're in Markgibi, we're in Lofa, we're in Cape Mount, we're in Grand Gide River G, we're going down to the southeast. We're rating our contract with Liberia. We're betting on the fact that our people remember what we're doing for them now as we get towards 2023. And we urge all of us to band together. I think we should all band, come together, whether I am from CDC or ANC, even UP, so that we all force our ideas and let Liberia win. This is our drive. But it's been
Yeah.
great being with you. It's been a little while. I'm very happy I was able to reconnect with all of you guys. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. We look forward to seeing you here often. Come back home.
Same here, Langwell,
Mr. Wisa,
Dr. PLC, and Mr.
sir.
Yeah,
Wilson.
my man, I will talk. I'll call you and ask my man to do that other than so, but I'll call you.
I'll try and I'll try
yeah,
and touch on as much as I can in my conclusion here. Firstly, let me
yeah,
acknowledge the fact that this was a very spirited show. Everyone had a meaningful impact. The one thing that you cannot negate and you cannot take from us, Liberians, whether in the diaspora or in Monrovia, Liberia, or wherever parts and its environs, we are very passionate about our country. So having said that, somebody talked about Senator DeLong. Full disclaimer, he's a very good friend of mine. So I want to thank him for being the backbone. I know that the institution doesn't bear his name on it, and it's no secret that he's the brain behind it, the Center for Rehabilitation and Reintegration, the CFRR, and the work that they continue to do help our downtrodden masses, help the children get. I hate to use the word so the underprivileged and disadvantaged youth get off the street. And I will address the demolition exercise. It is true. And I like how my brother, who spoke prior to Mr. Nangwe, provided the clarity that the demolition exercise is taking place, but the way it is being done, it may not be the most appropriate way, but we were just talking about other countries like Uganda, Ghana, and how they've picked up the pieces and they are doing exceptionally well. If we continue to have sympathetic mind, things will never be done in Liberia. And there's no secret. Every one of us here, at least if we don't know the rural parts of Liberia, we know what Monrovia looks like. Like Monrovia is completely overpopulated, and things has to happen in Monrovia for the country to look better. Remember, unlike countries like Nigeria that have other capitals, political or business capital, we have only one capital, Monrovia. So we have to make it look presentable in the eyes of other people. And my brother, when you from ANC, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm one of those who strongly supported President Baka. Like I earlier stated, I've never been a member of Unity Party, but I wanted to see a change. And I felt that George, we are underperformed, and we wanted Joseph Parker to get at the helm. But Kamwa May, he's 81 now. By the time of election, in the next 3 years, he will be a mid-octogenarian. He'll be almost 85 before by the time of election. So I foresee us going in a whole different direction. I like the chances. Like I said earlier, Mr. Cummings coming from a business background. Liberian people should give him a chance. He's a well-meaning Liberian. He's proven himself in his private life, his personal life, and what he's done over the years. He's been very successful, and he should bring that to the limelight. I like the chances also of Councillor Gonglo, a very reputable Liberian who've helped a lot of impoverished Liberians, providing pro bono service for people in legal battles. I really like his chances, and I'm a team. I want to see somebody before then, if it is likely somebody to throw their name in the race before 2029, because like my brother said, it's almost late, but I don't think it is very late, because somebody can form a coalition, somebody can form a collaboration and mend fences with any of the formidable forces at the top, whether UP, CDC, and we also had the recent survey that conducted on one of the most notable platforms on social media, Spoon, how well ANC did. They did very well. I was so impressed. And I hope Mr. Cummings can continue to impress. And I want to just see Liberia do better. I speak for Liberia. I would never put any leader, and that's one reason why I've never aligned myself with any political institution, because I feel, hypothetically, if I also put a CDC, and say, for instance, CDC were bringing Akara's Gray, or men who went to the US campus with thugs and hooligans after being told not to go there when they were in power, and he was a representative, he went there. If the CDC is bringing Akara's Gray to run again in District 8, I'll be compelled to support him because that's my party, instead of supporting Prince Tools, who a young man in 2 years is building a big, beautiful library in District 8, and who've not committed any offense as grave as Gray, who took thugs to the UL campus that lies in District 8. So I'd rather prefer the idea of Liberia or a political party. With that, I'd like to retire, and it was a pleasure being on with you all.
Thank you, guys. I know the time is well spent. Maybe we should go around the room, maybe 1 minute each to give you a closing argument, closing statement. We're already late, so there's no need to worry about the lateness again. That's why I was always told, if you're late, don't get in traffic and be running. You're already late. You go to the place and give your excuse. Simple as that. We're already late, so maybe we should go around around the horn and give maybe a minute of closing statement, and then we'll wrap up this. I will start with you again, Dr. William, please.
Thank you, Gabriel, and thanks again to all of us for our contributions and insights. I remain optimistic. I'm an incurable optimist when it comes to Liberia and its prospects in terms of development and development and progress. I grew up in a Liberia that registered a lot of progress, a leader who was very progressive, and living in the 70s and what I saw happen for Liberia in the 70s, I'm more than sure that with all of the knowledge and expertise that we have, we can do even more in this day and age. But all that's needed right now is leadership. And when I speak of leadership, I'm not just pointing fingers at one man sitting at the top. No, I'm talking about leadership at all levels of government, all levels of society. Leadership in the homes, leadership in the churches, leadership amongst political parties or within political parties, leadership at all levels. One of the areas we've been very deficient in is leadership. And that is manifesting in terms of our education, in terms of our health services, and now we see it all at the national level. And so addressing this isn't in the laps of any one person sitting in the executive mansion. No, it's a societal challenge, and that must be addressed societally. And so it calls for concerted efforts from all of us.
Yeah.
From all of us. I'm happy just listening to my brothers here on the show. We all come from different political communities.
Yeah.
And yet what I'm hearing a resounding convergence of ideas.
Yeah.
We're all saying the same thing, using different words, but we're all saying the same thing. We all want the same thing for our country. And so finding common ground in terms of how we do that shouldn't be difficult at all. And so I look forward to reconnecting. This has to be an ongoing process. I will continue to be engaged. And I'm sure the mystic in the air, that natural mystic of transformation that's in the air, will all continue to sip and inhale it and ensure that it materializes for Liberia. Thank you all, and I look forward to continuously engaging.
Thank you. Dr. William, quick 1 minute closing. Dr. Pearson, sorry.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. It's a pleasure having you tonight. I thank God that you came back safely, travels. I wish you well in your trying to reconnect to Liberia. And thanks for sharing your story tonight. Thanks, Elton, right? Elston?
With an S, Elston.
Elston. Yeah, it was a pleasure having you. Yeah, it was a pleasure being with you on the show tonight. And I look forward to more engagement in the future. Mr. Nangwe, congratulations, man. I didn't have the time to tell you congratulations on your new portfolio.
Oh yeah, congratulations, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right, Gabriel, thanks for the show tonight. Look, our listeners out there, Solomon, Boyman, you've been very engaged with the platform. I want to say thank you. And our man, I want to say Fix Electronics.
He's a regular.
Yeah. All of you out there want to say thank you for being on, having us in your living room. I just want to close by saying, listen, there's much going on in Liberia. I think we can do better. And I pray that we can do better. I think we should look at Liberia from a bigger perspective when it comes to what we want to see out of Liberia. Because if we continue to praise the little things, at the end of the day, the guys will settle for the little things. If we make them uncomfortable and make them and push them to do the bigger things, they will definitely want to settle down for the bigger things. Liberia is not Monrovia, it's not Montserrat County. People still living in tash, mud floors, drinking from creeks and rivers in the 21st century. Our kids can barely have access to internet to do the studies, and if they can, it's just a very few of them. Electricity in Monrovia is just for a few individuals. It's not for as many Liberians as it should be for. People still trying to study under lanterns and candles. I mean, this is the 21st century. We can do better. And I pray that we can have someone like Alexander Cummings or others who are available, like Reverend Williams said, it's a long time to 2029. But let us cue those who have the capacity to do better for us, for a better future. It was a pleasure again thanks for having me.
Thank you, Dr. Pearson. Mr. Namwe, I relegate this to you for your closing.
Thank you very much, and thank you all so much for the compliments. My sympathies to Mr. George Solomon George of the formerly of the CDC. I think we were neighbors back in the 80s when I was in college on Camp Johnson Road. I didn't know him very well, but I've heard a lot about him, and I think his loss was unexpected. So deepest sympathy to the family. Some of the things he railed against are happening today. He thought President Weah was an absent leader. He delegated most of his functions to Nathaniel McGill and Samuel Tua and Jefferson Koji. Those people were not elected by the Liberian people. They elected him. We're seeing the same thing happening today. This president, there's somebody question here as to how much he's in touch with what is happening on his watch. I hope he's taking lesson from his immediate past predecessor. Liberian people now are becoming wise enough that they are unforgiving. If they think you are abdicating or you've been derelict in the performance of your duty, they will send you packing. I have a lot of friends in this government. I want them to continue to serve their country, but they have to course correct. 3 years in, and right now, I can't point to one thing that has been done right by this government. Never mind that I'm in the CMC and we're in the opposition community. If they do right, we will speak for them and praise them. The president announced the process leading to the formation of the War Economics Crime Code. We all hailed that right here on this platform. And a lot of my friends on this platform here thought I was crazy. And I said that was a good thing. But where are we? The code is yet to even, besides taking paid and sitting in offices, I don't think they're doing anything yet. So, we wish them well. I'll continue to say because their success will lead to Liberia succeeding, but they haven't turned the corner. They haven't. And so the yellow machine, we're seeing a lot of photos now that don't suggest that yellow machines alone were brought in. It looks like yellow machines might have been 10% of the package that was brought in. So, but thank you tonight. Every time we have the opportunity, we advise our brothers and sisters looking in from the outside, and tell them we're glad to be their sounding board. Tell them what the people are thinking, how they're feeling about this government. We just talk about the budget. The budget is so disconnected from the people. They don't even understand what the budget means. But great show tonight. Thank you for the opportunity. It has been an honor and pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you,
And
Mr.
Dr. Williams, welcome back, my man.
Thank you,
And
buddy.
last but not least, Mr. Wissaid, we would take your closing
Yes, sir.
statement and then we'll wrap up.
Mr. Moderator, I want to say thank you for the last opportunity to close up the night. And let me start by saying my deepest condolences to Mr. Solomon Josh and his family. And this is very tragic. I'm from the sports world, and he used to be the coach of Uhuru Kings. If somebody who just came to the Liberia scene, Uhuru King is used to be, I don't know what it is today, a formidable basketball team, NIE, and he worked with my father, who taught accounting at Zion Community College. Then it was, now it's a university, and he used to be in their sports area. Mr. Solomon George. I feel so bad hearing about this. I didn't know that until now that the brother said something about it. And I will retire by adding here that considering we have a couple more years to the next election, true, I want to see a new leader. I want for us to take a different trend. The Liberian people, they have a way of showing you who they are leaning towards. So considering Baka is there and his age, if George Weah elects to come back, which Maxwell Kimiya has already given a kind of picture that Weah is certainly going to run. We know they are very strong force in Liberia. You cannot hide it. The truth is CDC and UP, they are very, very powerful political parties in Liberia. So if Weah is going to come back, it's going to be very tough on the other institutions. So I want to see Mr. Cummings do well at ANC, and I want him to get a chance because I feel that the Liberian people should show him the due respect because he's ran at least 2 times at most, and people were saying he may not run this time, but I'm so glad Mr. Cummings chose to come back and run in 2029. That's a very good step, in the right direction. And CDC, I think if they were to rebrand and come with somebody different, but to bring George Weah back, who is able lieutenant field, and they have several of their top officials sanctioned, that has nothing to do with UP politics against them. That's international politics. And some of the mishaps and the mysterious deaths, like people dying on our street, the kind of weather we have on our principal street or Broad Street, and the leader saying they were having affair in car, and those things, I mean, the reflection, the optics, they just look bad. So I don't think we should consider UP because of Waka's age if they're going to bring it back. And I don't think we should consider CDC. And this is my honest take on the coming election. But I want us to consider a brand new party, a brand new leader. And I think Liberia will be headed in the right direction. I want to thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you again, gentlemen. Thank you for having, being on the show today. I learned a lot from you guys. Again, as I say, I'm not a political guy, so hearing your political perspective sometimes gives me a little bit of insight into, how to talk about politics. I really enjoyed having you guys on here. As Dennis will always say, whether you like the politics, whether you think you're a citizen or unit partisan or you're CMC or ANC, one thing that is resounding here is that we all want better for Liberia, and let's keep that spirit alive. Thank you, and have a good night.
We are Liberia. Liberia is our home. Liberia people. Liberia, all we want. Liberia, oh. Liberia, all we want. Liberia, Liberia.